Good morning, my name is Mindy Daring. Welcome to this presentation on using image repair theory to evaluate the target data breach. This presentation is going to discuss William Benoit's theory of image repair theory and how it can be used for effective crisis communication. If your position does not require you to routinely deal with the media or crisis in communicating, you might wonder, why should I be concerned with this? I'd like to turn around and ask you some questions then. Have you ever honestly made a mistake on a report or had complications getting a project done due to lack of resources or conflicting goals between a coworker or something? If you have, these are all types of crises that can tarnish your reputation. In order to repair a reputation, communication is vital. So the goal of this presentation is to learn how we can apply image repair theory to situations to repair a damaged image. This theory can help reduce damage that occurs as well as help repair it. The outline of this presentation will flow as following. First, we will begin with reviewing the image repair theory. Then we will discuss the target data breach of 2013. Then we will apply the image repair theory to that data breach situation. And finally, I will make recommendations for how organizations can use this theory in their crisis communication. To discuss the image repair theory, William Benoit created this theory, and there are two main assumptions. The first is that communication is a goal-directed activity. It's not passive, it's active. It's used as a sense of persuasion. The second assumption is that it is important to maintain a positive reputation, doing so through communication. If somebody attacks your reputation, your image can be damaged if two factors are present. One, that an undesirable attack has occurred, and two, that you are responsible for that action. If that is the case, then we need to use communication to help repair that. Through his theory, he developed 5 image repair strategies. One is denial, evade responsibility, reduce offensiveness, corrective action, and mortification. There are several tactics within each of these strategies. I will list them briefly here, and we will discuss more as we analyze the case. Denial, you can think of 2 things. One is just, I didn't do it. And 2, shifting the blame. We might say they did it. For evading responsibility, there could be provocation, meaning something provoked you to do that. That your action was in response to somebody else's act. Another one is defeasibility, of lack of information or it was out of your control, which is why you did this action. The third, it could be just an accident. Or fourth, you had good intentions. So maybe your act wasn't good, but your intentions for why you were doing it, you intended for it to be good. For reducing offensiveness, you could use a technique called bolstering, which is where you focus on something good that you or your organization has done to take away the focus of that bad action. You could use minimization, making it sound like it's not as bad as it was. Differentiation, which is when you compare an act to something that is less desirable. So maybe your act wasn't good, but maybe it wasn't as bad as this act. Transcendence is placing an act in a different context, or attacking an accuser. If whoever is accusing you of this action, what is their credibility? Maybe you can discredit that. Or then compensation. For corrective action, just what it states is that you're doing something to remedy the problem. And mortification is a simple apology or feeling embarrassed and sorry for what has been done. So now we will discuss a situation or target where they had a data breach that occurred in 2013. And although We are here in the headquarters of Walmart, Northwest Arkansas. I know you are familiar with that red bullseye of Target and what that branding means to their image. I also know there are some shoppers in this audience, and so that is going to be important concerning this situation. The details of this event is that it occurred in December, through the period of November 27th and December 13th, 2013, around one of the busiest shopping times of Black Friday. We're going to discuss the timeline here. On December 13th, 2013, the U.S. Department of Justice reached Target and notified them that there had been a data breach. On December 14th, then, Target hired a third-party company to investigate, and on the 15th, that breach was confirmed by Target, yet the public was not yet informed. The security breach was found to have affected at least 70 million shoppers, with both personal and financial information that was breached. Personal information includes name, phone number, address, email address, and the financial information was debit, credit card information, expiration dates, and even the encrypted PIN that's in your magnetic code on your card. The breach was found to have occurred through a third-party vendor where their security system was breached, which was tied in with Target's system. So Target's response, the public first found out about this on December 18th, so several days after Target confirmed that a breach had occurred, and it was first relayed to the public by Brian Krebs. Okay, so why is this significant besides the fact that it's several days after they confirmed it? The fact that Brian Krebs does not work for Target. He works for he's a security blogger. So if you are not the first person to come out and notify the public if something has occurred, then it looks like you are being deceptive and something wrong. That is going to not fare well for your image or your reputation. So there was a delayed response by the Target CEO, but on the next day, the CEO did release a statement, and then there were multiple statements followed up, several interviews weeks later. But this time, I'd like to take a look at that part of that first video clip that the Target CEO, Greg Steinhafel, issued.
With our guests is that we value their business and we appreciate the trust they place in us as a company and as a friend and a community partner. So at Target, we get a 10% discount if you're a team member, and we want to extend that team member discount to all of the guests that come and shop with us this weekend as a small way to just say thank you for being a great guest.
How's that make you feel? Everyone ready to run to Target? Your financial information was just breached and they're going to give you 10%. Hurry before that shopping. All right, so we're going to discuss some of those categories that Target used or could have used. But first, I'd like to read a couple other statements that were issued. Here's one, quote, "It was a crime against Target, our team members, and most importantly, our guests." And another one is, "We apologize and want you to understand that we are experiencing unprecedented call volume." All right, we're going to now analyze Target's response and things they did well or what they could have done. So in listening to these statements that I just read, the first one, the big issue is that they first said it was a crime against Target. They did say most importantly our guests, but that's at the end of the sentence. The most important thing in addressing crisis is what you're trying to do for your customers and your stakeholders. And while in the video clip he did express wanting to earn back trust and that they cared for their customers, the statement didn't support that fully or as strongly. And on the second one, about unprecedented call volume, they should have expected, and if their plan was in place effectively, they would have had even more people there around the clock answering the calls. So there should be no reason that people could continually not receive help. So let's look at some more of these strategies used. Denial. Target used denial by initially saying that financial information was not hacked. They later had to retract that because it was. They first thought there was 40 million people rather than 70. So that is an example of minimization. Another one on denial was the shifting blame, where hackers, they said it wasn't our fault, the hackers were responsible. They did try to use compensation, 10% discount. I'll give them effort for trying there. It just probably wasn't strong enough. Didn't get me wanting to run out there and do that. Defeasibility is a way to evade responsibility. They claimed lack of information and attacks were out of their control. Again, relating back to the hackers. Mortification, they did apologize. They expressed remorse. Corrective action, they did very well in corrective action. They've implemented many security factors, more stringent requirements for their vendors, limited access, and rotating passwords. The overall assessment, biggest flaw I see is a delayed response. They did use good strategies. Since then, though, the CEO has resigned. They're still trying to build up the image of Target. Stock prices rebounded, though. Data breaches, amazingly, don't last a long time or that. I think because of the internet world and everything, everybody knows this information is out there. So it's not isolated, and they are still in business. Overall recommendations, everybody needs to have a crisis communication plan in place. They need to review it frequently and make updates as needed. They need to respond immediately, identify their target audience and create a message specifically for them. Use appropriate strategies. Some strategies won't be appropriate in certain situations, and they need to put stakeholders first. So in conclusion, it's important when we get in situations to use a plan that we have in place, and that we have those communication lines open, that we are honest, and we respond quickly, and that we address our stakeholders' concerns. I hope that you can take some of this information and implement in your own crisis communication and use this image repair theory. Thank you.